to help you guys understand how things are going for a PMI PMP exam preparation journey, which is definitely not easy journey, but it's also an interesting one that you would love to start and you would definitely wish to finish it successfully. So we have one of our candidates who has just passed his exam recently. And before diving more, we have a very fresh passing candidate today. I have one of my students, Noella from Cameroon, who had just passed her exam today, 23rd of June. So I am very happy and I am very motivated to talk to you today about this topic. Today we have Mr. Arif, who has just passed his exam recently, I think last month, and he has passed with a very nice result. And he had the confidence definitely to talk to us today about his journey and how he started, how he managed, how he organized, and how he studied, and all the, let's say, challenges and barriers he has just passed through, and what he has done before the exam, and the night before the exam, and during the exam day, during the exam 4 hours, and after seeing his result on the screen. He will take us through all those steps, and after he finished his presentation today, we'll open the floor for questions and answers. You are free to ask him as many questions as you need, and we are open to answer all of your questions. He will be answering, I'll be supporting. The session today is Mr. Arif's session. It's not mine 100%. It will be his session 90%. I'll be supporting on a 10%. Mr. Arif is a member of AMI Chemical and PMP, PMISP, which is scheduling professional and project management professional. He passed the two certificates. He's a mechanical engineer who's staying in Qatar and he's working in the field of engineering. And he's a planning engineer who's working in Qatar. This is a few points about Mr. Arif, where he's volunteering in Rota and Qatar Sailing and Rowing Federation, 4 years of planning engineering, and 3 years of property managing as a property manager. I'll leave the floor now to Mr. Arif. So please, Mr. Arif, share your screen and feel free to start your session. You will have around 30 minutes to 40 minutes to complete the presentation, and the guys will have the floor to ask the questions that they want to know about the exam and about the journey. Go ahead, please. I stop sharing from my side.
Okay, let me start sharing. How do you share?
Go to the bottom
Now?
of your screen. There is a small rectangle
Okay.
with an up arrow present now. Then select yes, your screen.
Okay, done. Hi, so my name is Arif and I'll be presenting you today my journey of PMP certification. Mr. Jasir has already explained the structure of the presentation, so I'll skip through. So yeah, a bit about my personal professional life. I finished my master's in mechanical engineering and management from the University of Glasgow in 2015. Before that, I finished my bachelor's in mechanical engineering from University of South Wales. I'm an associate member of the Institution of Mechanical Engineers in the United Kingdom. I am also certified and registered with the MME UPDA, which, for those of you who don't know, is an engineering body registered with the government in Qatar. So I'm a PMP and PMISP certified. This PMISP is for specifically for schedulers or planners. So I've done those two certifications. I volunteered for Reach Out to Asia and, as Mr. Sasser already explained, with the Sailing and Rowing Federation as well. And I have 4 years of planning engineering experience, and 3 years before that, I was a property manager for an organization company here in Qatar. Okay, so first question, why? Why did I decide to go for an authorized PMP course? When there are so many courses out there, you can do, like, you can get free courses, which I'll discuss now. So the first step is obviously.
Sorry for interruption. Can you just go for a full screen and make sure that we are on the same slide where you are speaking about, because we are still on in the first slide.
Oh, okay. Let me change. Okay.
Great.
Is it working now?
Yes, we are on the Y now. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So why did I go for a PMI authorized PMP course? So I have a master's in project management already. So I wanted to refresh my basic management knowledge because it has been quite a few years since I graduated. And I wanted to get up to date with the latest management principles and ideas, because obviously it's an ever-changing field. And as most of you already know, there have been now 7 editions of PIM book, so it's an ever-changing field. And I wanted to get up to date with the latest ideas. And obviously, as I was saying before, there are, like, you could go for an unauthorized one. Well, let's not say unauthorized PMI course, but not authorized by PMI. Although that will give you information that will not help you get PMP certified, because that is not authorized by the PMI Institute. So this is why I went for an authorized course. It covers all the topics required for by PMI. So Mr. Jasser, he has all the information related to that, and he keeps updating as it's required by the PMI. And obviously, to get PMP certified, again, if you go for any online course which is not authorized, you may get information, but you can't get PMP certified because it's not an authorized course. So if some of you are not enrolled, make sure you go for an authorized PMP course. And obviously, there are career goals. Before, let's say 8 years ago, I wanted to go for its pure engineering background. But then, as time passes, you develop your mindset and your career goals change. So now, for my career goals, I wanted to go for project management. So I decided to go for this PMP course. Now, how was Mr. Jas's PMP exam preparation course? Sadly, I could not attend all of the lectures online. I was away for a while, and I watched all the recordings later. But throughout all the recordings, I found Mr. Jasi very interactive with his students, and they were fun sessions. We have fun here. Yeah, it's not all boring study words, letters. We have conversations here, and we have fun. So repetition of core ideas. Now this, I think most of you might have noticed this already in Mr. Jasier's courses. He will repeat some core principles over and over again throughout the lectures. And that may seem like he's doing it out of, maybe forgetfulness, but no. This, what it does, it solidifies the basic ideas of the PMP mentality and the basic principles of the PMP. So if you repeat something over and over again, it will stick in your mind more. If you read it just once, you may forget it 2-3 days later. So yeah, this is very helpful for let's say long term, not just for the exam, for long term as well. And of course, it focuses on the exam material, so you don't have to read all the books and everything. It focuses on the questions and topics you will get in your exam. So it's very good in that regard. You don't have to study for 60-100 hours. You just study the 30-35 hours, and you can pass the exam easily. And lectures are based on the 7th edition of PIM book, which is the latest edition of the PIM book, and with occasional references to 6th edition, because I think you have already studied all this in the lectures, the difference between the 6th and 7th edition. But yeah, occasional references to 6th edition, but the latest one is what we study in the courses. And this is, I think that most of you might be interested in this, free goodies, which you will know when you get them, but I'll give you a hint. Focus on the presentations, focus on the student presentations, and you might just get free goodies. Okay, so moving on, how did the classing and recording help you to pass? Okay, so as I was saying before, the authorized course covers all the PMP exam related topics. So Mr. Jas's course will cover all of these topics which are related to the exam course. You may find that sometimes we are studying other things as well, but that's because of the nature of the exam. Sometimes they keep changing the exam. This is how it is. So sometimes you might think this topic is not related, but there's a chance it can come in your exam. Maybe it didn't come in mine, maybe it didn't come before, but there's a chance it can come in your exam. So this covers all the course, or the sessions cover all of these topics. And obviously, as I was saying before, again, interaction. He interacts with the students interact with their teacher or with their lecturer, and this helps in retaining knowledge. It's always best if you're studying alone, you might go to read something and you might overlook some things, but if you're interacting, if you're asking questions, that helps retain the knowledge more. Student presentations and assignments, again, this is again, it has to do with interaction. As the students are interacting with the class, they are having fun. It's not a boring exercise. It also promotes self-study, which is important, but as we'll discuss later, leave that for after the exam. And this is, again, if you are doing presentation and assignments, you're getting used to researching on your own, which you will definitely need for your PDUs, which is something you will have to do after you have gained your PMP certification. You will need 40, I think, is the compulsory PDUs, and 60 are overall 60, so 20 are optional. So PDUs, after you get certified, you'll need to study 1 hour. Like one PDU is 1 hour. So you'll need to study 40 hours to retain your PMP certification, and they will verify this after 3 years. And again, as I was saying, reinforcing ideas. The repetition of core ideas reinforces them in your mind. So you won't forget the very basic principles for a long time. Whereas if you just go through them once, there's every chance that you'll forget about it like half an hour later. So yeah, this is my experience with Mr. Jasir's classes and his recordings and how they helped me as well. How did you prepare for your exam? Okay, I think I should go slow because we might finish before 30 minutes if I go at this pace. Anyway, how did you prepare for your exam?
Arif, it's okay if you finish before 30 minutes because we'll open the floor for questions and we'll be discussing more.
Okay, thank you. So how did I prepare for my exam? I took notes during the lectures, and this is important. As Mr. Jasir is teaching, he will mention some topics and it says this is very important for your exam. So make sure you mark that on your notebook, on your wherever you're marking your, taking notes, mark it, put a big red line there or something so you know that this is an important topic for the exam. So when you go for revision later before the exam, you know which topics to focus on more. And I revisited the recordings and went through the slides. Now this portion, I did not go through all the slides because that's 32 hours of content. You can't really go through it all again. So once you have finished the whole course, what I did, I went through the recordings, but I only focused on the slides. I focused on the slide content, and if there was something I missed before, I noted it down and I correlated it with my notes just to reinforcing the ideas. And I completed the mock-up exam provided by Mr. Jasir. Now this is very important. You should always focus, but we'll come to that later. How to guarantee passing the PMP exam? Well, the first point, get the basics right. Now what I mean by this is you should understand, you should know by this point, if you're new, you get into that later, but you should know the difference between traditional projects and agile methodologies. Now if you understand the difference and if you get these rights, there's like you're 50% of the way there already. You have passed 50% of your exam. So focus on the traditional and the agile methodologies and the difference between them. Because for my exam, specifically for my exam, I think roughly 80%, if not more, maybe even 90% to be honest, were all the questions were related to agile/hybrid. So there were very few traditional questions, but the hybrid ones and the agile ones. So if you know the difference, I'll tell you something. If you can differentiate, if the question is talking about a traditional or an agile environment, you can eliminate two of the MCQ options right there. If you know that the project is being run in an agile environment, then out of the 4 answers, 2 of them are probably traditional.
Hello, how are you?
The answers will probably be traditional environment. So you can just ignore them. You can leave those questions. And then you have a 50-50 chance of getting the answer right. So yeah, again, focus on and get your basics right. Focus on what is an agile environment. Focus on what is a traditional environment. Know the differences between them. And focus on the lectures and the mock-up exam material. If you as I said, basics right, 50% done. If you focus on the lectures and the mock-up exam material, the other 50% is done. There's a 100% chance that you will pass if you just focus on these 2 points, right? So whatever he's teaching in the class, know the topics, know what he's saying, focus on what he's saying, and at the end, when you finish your course, Mr. Jasir will give you mock-up exams. Do those. Those are very important. Do those. And try to take the exam while the information is still fresh. This is obviously always the best idea. Because over time, you will start forgetting. We all have our lives. We have too much information to process every day. So do the exam while the information is still fresh. Try if it's possible, try to do the exam within a month or 2 of finishing your course. And choose a good time for the exam. Again, this is very important. If you have a lot going through your life right now, don't go for the exam because you won't be able to focus on it. If you're mentally and physically, free, you don't have too many issues going on right now, then take the exam. Okay, how did I organize my material? So as I was saying, I took notes during the lectures and I highlighted exam-specific topics. This will help you when you go for revision. If some things are missed, go through the recordings again and make notes, because obviously when in live sessions there's There's so many things that could go wrong. Maybe internet issues you have, maybe you didn't hear something properly. So if you miss some topics, just make sure you go through the recordings again, go through that specific portion where you think you missed something, and make the notes in your notebook again. Additional note, now this one, if you're, because when you're explaining something, there's a chance again you might miss something, or the idea is not completely developed in your head, a topic you have not completely understood. So if you have any such topics, you can ask questions from Mr. Jasir, or if you're shy or whatever reasons you could not attend the live sessions, you could do self-study. Now, this is important. If you are going for self-study, make sure you only do it if you won't be confused, because there is a lot of information out there, and there is every chance you will go and end up on some websites which will tell you things which are not related at all to your PMP exam. Which, by the way, brings us to our next topic. Too much information, which materials to focus on. Now, as I was saying, if you go online, there's an endless amount of information related to PMP, related to everything. You know how the internet is. So which material should you focus on? If you're looking to pass the PMP exam, just focus on the topics that Mr. Jasir is teaching you, the presentations, including the student presentations that you have in your course, and the live sessions or recordings that the Mr. Jasir will put up. Now, if you go through this, if you go through the first topic and this mock-up test, 2 topics, you have passed the exam. You don't need to worry about anything. You don't need to worry about any more information. You don't need to worry about looking up anything online. Just focus on these 2 topics and you have passed the exam basically. So PIM book 7th edition, obviously a good idea to go through it before the exam. Again, if you won't get confused, because there is a lot of information in this book. It's what, I don't know, 600, 700 pages maybe. So go for PIM book after the exam. I'm sorry, I haven't really looked into the book, so I don't know the exact amount of pages. Right, are mock-up exams important, and do you recommend them? 100%. 100%, I highly recommend them. Go for the mock-up exams. Why? Mock-up exams will give you the idea or an example of the kind of language that you will be asked your questions in. It's all fair and well, it's all good if you know all the topics, but if you don't know how you're going to be questioned, you can't really prepare your answers. You can't really be mentally prepared for, you know, the way of thinking that you will have to apply, or the knowledge you will have to apply during your exams. So what mockups will give is they will give you an idea of the kind of language that will be used in the exam and the kind of questions you will be asking the exam. So and if you,
Mr. Arif, can you also elaborate how many mockup exams have you solved, where you get them from, and if you have extra than mine, so please also tell the guys.
I think it will, yeah, okay. So what I did, at the end of the course, Mr. Jasser provided, I think maybe it will be different or maybe it will be the same for all his courses, but the mock-up exams were provided by Mr. Jasser. There were 2 mock-up exams provided free of cost, and you can get more online on his website, I think. So if you want to pass above average, go for the mock-up exam. And if you want to learn even more, like you want absolutely no chances, you can always buy them. I think he has 2 or 3 or 4 online mock-up exams that you can go for. And what's different about his mock-up exams is he'll give you an explanation at the end as well. Why this answer is correct, why this option is correct, why this is not the correct option. And this again will help you solidify the ideas. And maybe you were confused about some topic before, but once you were going through the mock-up exam, you know, you gave your answer, you checked the correct answer, and then you found an explanation, and you had it will better solidify the core ideas. So now you know this answer is correct and why it's correct, why option B is not correct, why option C is not correct, for example. So I 100% highly recommend go for the mock-up exams, go for the ones Mr. Jasser will provide at the end of course, and they will definitely help you pass. If you want to go for even higher marks, if you are a very competitive person and you want to go for, I don't know, 100%, 99% or anything, you can always buy them more. Of course, the more mock-up exams you do, it's almost a guarantee that you will get more marks than if you did without. So at least do one. At least do one mock-up exam, at least, if you want to pass. Okay, do I recommend sticking the 100%? You should 100% stick to Mr. Jasser's classes, recordings, and mockups. There are other resources that you can again go online and find, but what I believe, what I experience is they will confuse you more than they will help. So stick with this Mr. Jasser is teaching you. Again, I'm not limiting the knowledge. I'm just saying for the exam, you should limit the resources that you will use. So for the exam, stick to Mr. Jas's classes, stick to the recordings, and stick to Mr. Jas's mock-up exams that he will provide. So I highly recommend this. Study the material again, just stick with this. And once you are a member of PMI, you might feel inclined. It might be, something that you want to do, that you will get access to a lot of free material. There will be a lot of books, articles, statistics, and such that you feel like you might feel inclined to study them, which is fine, but just please do them after the exam. Again, if you start going for PhD stuff while you're doing bachelor's, it's not going to help you. So stick with the stuff that's related to your exam for now, and then you can study all the books, you can read all the articles, you can do whatever you want after the exam. For the exam, this is just do whatever Mr. Jasi tells you inside the course, and 100% you're going to pass. Don't worry about it. Okay. Last week before the exam. Now we are moving on from our activities that we performed during the courses to what we did after the courses and before the exam. So last week before the exam, well, what I am a procrastinator. So I really can't do something, throughout. So what I did, I studied 8 to 10 hours in the last 2 days before the exam. I would not recommend it, but this is a personal preference. Maybe some people feel they can do it more easily this way. Maybe some people can feel they can do it easily if they study 2 hours, 4 hours every day. So this is a matter of personal preference, but I would suggest, because it's always better to not leave too much at the end, but this is how I work. So I studied 8 to 10 hours in the last 2 days every day. So overall 20 hours. I spent roughly 20 hours studying for the exam. As I was telling you before, I only went through the slides in the recordings. I went to the recordings, I skipped forward, I fast forwarded where the slides were. I just read through the slides and I tallied my notes to make sure that I had not missed any topic. And I focused on the mock-up test. Again, as I discussed before, this is a very important thing. If you do the mock-up test, if you know the basic difference between agile, traditional, and hybrid, you will pass. So focus on the mock-up tests. One day before the exam, now we're getting really close to the exam, you might start feeling stressed. There might be lots of nerves, don't worry. One day before the exam, just quickly go through the mock-up exam, or exams if you have multiple. Just go through, no need to think too much because you've already done the thinking, you already know which answers are correct, you already know how to answer, you already know the topics, you already know how to approach the problem. So just go through them quickly. Maybe there was a question you missed, maybe there was a topic you missed, so just go through them quickly to make sure you have covered everything in the mock-up exam as well. Don't worry, don't stress, it's going to be fine, you are going to pass. Trust me, it's not that big of an issue if you have done everything I've mentioned so far, if you have followed through Mr. Jas's course, if you have done what he's asked you, if you have participated in the classes, if you have done all the presentations, if you have gone through everything, there is no chance that you will fail. It's 100% a pass. Don't even think about the word fail. It should not even exist in your dictionary. You are going to pass, don't worry about that. Now, general tips for the exam day. Now, this might sound cliched. Get a good night's sleep. Yes, we know. We have heard it over and over again throughout our years, but this nevertheless remains a very important thing. You should always get a good night's sleep before the exam. I'll tell you why. For my exam, I chose a really bad time. I chose from 9:30 to maybe 2 a.m. or something. And after like 11:30, 12, I was half asleep. So I'm 100% sure the last few, let's say last 30 or 40 questions, I just wanted to get over with the exam. I wasn't really thinking that much. I was really focusing. I was half asleep. So yeah, get a good night's sleep, and make sure you choose a correct, a good time for the exam. Don't, because most of us might think, okay, I'll choose the exam late at night on a weekend because my family will be asleep and I'll get a quiet room. But make sure you are not sleeping, So get a good night's sleep and choose a good time for the exam. Now, find a quiet room if you are giving the exam at home. And I will prefer that you give the exam at home because with my experience, because for my SB, I had to go to this test center. The rooms there are very cold and you might be shivering throughout the test. And that is not going to help you in your exam. If you're shivering, you can't really think properly. You're just not focusing. So it's always best to do it at home in a quiet room by removing all the distractions and everything. Again, which brings us to the next point, remove all distractions. Make sure there is nothing in front of you, No beautiful sceneries, no words written, no, I don't know how, whatever decorations people put it up in their homes. Don't put like motivational lines on in your peripheral vision or in front of you there's a beautiful scenery, because that will only distract you from the exam. As they say, out of sight, out of mind. If you look at this picture for 1 second, the next thing you know, you're thinking about mountains, you're thinking about ladies, you're thinking about beautiful sceneries and whatnot, and you're not thinking about your exam. So remove all the distractions from in front of you. There should only be your laptop or your screen, and in your peripheral vision, it's better to have nothing. Just a white wall is okay. This will help you focus only on the exam. Okay, mark any questions you are not sure of for review. This is very important because, again, from my personal experience, in the first 60 questions, I spent a lot of time thinking, which resulted in me wasting a lot of time and leaving less time for the other questions. So I had to kind of rush through the rest of the questions, which wasn't an issue because I found that slowly, the questions got easier. This is just my personal experience. It might not be the case for everyone, so don't listen to that as an advice. But for me, the first 60 were kind of difficult, and the others were kind of easy. So if you're confused about some question, leave it. Don't waste 15 minutes on it, because this is directly going to impact all your questions coming after. You will have less time to think. You will have less time to make the right choice. So if a question is complicated, you don't understand the language of the question, you don't really understand, maybe you think you don't remember the topic, maybe you think you're confused between option A and option B, you can mark it on this computer screen. You can mark it for review. Just mark it for review and leave it for later. After you do the 60 questions, you can go back to this question and then you can think about it, or just choose one. If you're really confused and you have no idea, just choose an option which seems the most likely. Don't overthink it and take the break and go for the next 60. Again, manage your exam time judicially. Don't waste, I don't know, 1.5 hours on the first 60 questions or something like me. Divide your total time by the number of questions so you have an idea, or divide them by the portion. For example, in the first let's say 1/3 portion, there's 60 questions, and you can divide your overall time to the 60 questions, and then you take the 10-minute break, and then you do the next 60 questions and the 10-minute break again. Manage your time, think about it, do it before the exam. Divide your time in the 60 questions, divide your time for the second 60 questions, divide your time for the other 60 questions. And tips from my personal experience. Okay, now this is really going to help you, because I struggle with this, because some of the questions can get quite long. By the time you reach the end of the question, you have already forgotten what they mentioned in the beginning of the question. So by the end, you are thinking something completely different, while the question had something to do with a different topic. And this can happen with long questions. So what I would say is, try to visualize the question. If it says you are a project manager of so-and-so company, place yourself in the project manager's shoes, and then visualize what they're explaining in the question. Okay, this is the problem. So you make like a figure in your head that, for example, commercial manager says this, project manager, I as a project manager has to listen to him. Some other engineer says this, I as a project manager listen to him. Visualize the problem instead of just reading and not really understanding the question. Visualize the question, place yourself in the project manager's shoes, or a Scrum Master or Agile Master's shoes, and then try to think what is the best approach from a PMI perspective, from a PMP perspective. This will definitely help with the longer questions. You can try doing some practice before the exam for this specific for the longer questions. So try to in the mock-up exam, for example, try to start visualizing from there. So when the exam is there, when you're doing the exam, you don't have to start thinking of new techniques to solve the longer questions. And again, for the longer question, the second point is also very valid. Highlight key points in the questions, because they will give you a lot of information. Not all of it has to do with the exam. With the question at hand. They will obviously throw in random information that has nothing to do with your question to confuse you. This is how all the questions are. This is how all the tests take place. This is not just for PMP. This is how we had even in our schools. Even if you do other courses, even if you don't do non-management courses, it's going to be the case that most of the time they will throw in random information just to confuse you, which is not really to confuse, just to check your knowledge and to check if you're focusing on the question at hand. But in the like colloquial terms, we say confuse. So highlight the key points, focus on what is being asked and the information required for that specific question that you are being asked. If they have given you SPI, CPI, I'm sure all of you are familiar with those terms. SPI, CPI, and they're giving you variances and they're giving you lots of information. And at the end, they're only asking you what is, for example, the SPI or the CPI of this, and they've given you values. You don't need to focus on other things. If it says scheduling, you only need to focus on the earned value so far and the scheduled values. You don't need to focus on cost, but they will provide you cost to kind of confuse you. So highlight the key points which relate with the question. If you're unsure about a question, again, leave it. No need to waste 10 minutes thinking about it. No need to waste 15 minutes. Just leave it for later. At the end of this specific, like a 60-minute session, you will get some time before you go on a break. If you want to go on a break, you should definitely go on a break though, which is obviously mentioned later. But if you're unsure, leave it. You'll do it later. And again, set the AC on a reasonable set point. As I was saying, in exam centers, the ACs are incredibly cold and you're shivering and you won't be able to focus. Why I say even at home you should set it, because they will ask you to remove the AC remote from your surrounding. And as you all know, you will not be able to leave your seat for even 1 minute in the exam. They will ask you to remove all kinds of electronic devices and such. So set the AC at a reasonable set point where you're comfortable, where it's not too hot, where it's not too cold. So you can, even if the remote is not within your reach, you don't feel like you need to get up and set the and like increase the temperature or decrease the temperature. Now this might sound a bit silly, but trust me, if you are having to sit there for 4 hours, you want the AC on a reasonable set point, especially in this summer heat. So make sure you know what set point you want. And take the 10 minutes break. This is very important because you will not be able to leave before you do the 60 questions, at least 60 questions. If I'm wrong, Mr. Justin can correct me later. It's been a while. I don't remember the exact format.
You are 100% correct.
Thank you, Mr. Justin. So after the 60 questions, you should definitely go for the 10-minute break, because if you want to drink some water, if you want to go use the washroom, if you want to rest your brain, take the 10-minute break, because if you ignore this 10-minute break, you will have to do the next 60 questions before you get a chance to go on a break. So even if you don't feel like it, even if you don't feel like you need water or you need to use the restroom or you need to rest your brain, just take it. Trust me. Just relax your brain. Prepare it for the next 60 questions you have. And in the end, just relax. Honestly, I don't know why, but I think it's a human nature. I think we could blame it on human nature. As soon as you mention test or exam or presentation, a lot of us start worrying, and we take it as something that's something like which is very confusing, which is very difficult. We kind of start stressing out about it. You just don't do it. Don't stress out about it. Relax. It's just an exam. You will pass if you have done everything throughout the course. If you have studied, there is no need to worry. You're going to pass. So just relax, because I think most of us have experienced it already. If you start stressing out, you will start forgetting things. So that is actually detrimental to the exam instead of being helpful. So just relax. Even if you don't know a question, there is no need to stress. Just choose one and move on. How this will help? You're relaxed. You can do the next questions better. You can think about them better. If you're stressed, oh, maybe I did that question wrong. Maybe this is right. Maybe this is wrong. You will, even if the topics you do know, and the next question is something you do know, because you're stressing out about the last question, that's going to mess with your brain. So just relax. Throughout the exam, there's no need to worry.
100% correct. يعني if you stress, you won't answer even the questions that you already know. You will start doubting all the answers. You don't know some questions, just leave them. Don't stress.
So no need to worry. Just relax. It's an exam, and you're gonna pass. Trust me. Okay, and that brings us to the close of the presentation. And the floor is open for all of you if you guys have any questions related to the presentation.
Hello, Mr. Arif. Just give us 1 second, Mr. Muhammad. I'll just conclude on the presentation. We'll come to you directly. Don't worry. So, guys, the summary of the presentation, that you need to know what to study, where to study it, how to study it, and to get yourself familiar with the material that you are presented or you are introduced to. This is point number 1. Point number 2, you don't need to freak out. You don't need to stress. You need to relax. Number 3, you need to try to participate and definitely to answer some questions. Number 4, consult some professional guy who will be definitely leading you to the correct direction. Number 5, please take a rest before your exam. Number 6, get prepared. Number 7, have a quiet place. Number 8, trust your knowledge. Number 9, don't doubt your answers. Number 10, if you don't know a certain question, just move forward and get back to it later. Don't start answering and sticking to the question during the exam. Number 11, please pay attention to the timing. The timing is the key in the exam. Number 12, don't convert the question to your language because you don't understand. Your trainer or your instructor should definitely help you to understand all English vocabs and all English scenarios. And number, I don't know, maybe 13, please, please, please study well, relax, and trust yourself. To this extent, guys, I want to go to questions, then I will jump into the gift of this session. So please stay with us. I will go to Mr. Muhammad. Mr. Muhammad, please feel free to ask.
Okay. Hello, how are you? Hello.
How are you?
Good.
I am fine, thank you. Okay. Actually, I have a question. If I take a BMP, or you can say if I take a BMP exam certification, this, and how can I apply this in the actual ground? Because
Sorry?
I'm mechanical engineer adjustments. I say for you, if I took the BMP exam, okay, this will give me what? Because I'm mechanical engineer, how can I practice this on the actual ground? BMP, Project Management Professional.
Yeah, I think I can take it. I can take this question. Mr. Arif, if you want to answer also, you can do it.
I'll answer after you.
Great. Mr. Muhammad, how many years of experience do you have?
3 years.
So you are not in a managerial position, correct? You are still in a junior level mechanical engineer position, correct?
Exactly. Yes, yes.
Great. So the thing that will happen, the first thing, if you take it now, I don't know if you are a certified PMP, but if you take it now, the first thing that you will get to know more about management and how things are in reality happening. This is the first thing. Second thing, today at a 3 years of experience level, you will get to know the knowledge and you will get the certificate, and will open the doors for you to start applying and seeing positions in managerial level. The minute you will have a managerial level, definitely you will get to use those vocabs and those procedures. But now, if you are in an engineering position where you are handling projects, I'm not saying managing projects, handling projects, it will sharpen your knowledge and you will be doing the management in the correct direction. You'll understand why people are saying yes and no on things that seems to be a yes, for example. So it will help you to understand why things are happening in a certain direction because you are still in the 3 years of experience level. Is it recommended to go for it now? And I'm always open for taking more knowledge at any age, even if you are working or not. But for the professional career path, I do see that it will be posting your experience. It will help you to be faster than your colleagues at the same positions. Did I answer your question, Mr. Muhammad?
Can you tell me where, which can I use it from the MD?
Come again, please, because you're cutting.
What?
Your voice is cutting. Can you repeat what you have just mentioned?
Okay. I ask you, can you explain for me on the some software which can I use it in BMP?
There is no software to use in PMP actually. If you are asking about the certificate, it's a pure theoretical knowledge. You will be studying the theoretical material for the project management and you will be applying it in the exam. But softwares for other tasks which will come under the umbrella of the project, you'll have too many softwares. Like for example, if you are doing a scheduling, you will have, for example, Primavera, maybe Microsoft Project, depends on your company. If you're doing some designs, maybe you are doing, maybe if you are an architect, you will be using maybe 3ds Max, Revit, AutoCAD, or whatever. If you are, for example, doing scheduling in a BIM environment, you'll be using maybe Synchro, maybe Navisworks. So it depends on what you are doing and what the project is. But for the exam itself, there is no software.
Also, I'll just like to add on that. It's actually going to help you with your career. And I'll give you a live example that happened in my organization, one of the companies I worked before. They have, like, let's say they had 3 or 4 engineers. One of them is civil, or 2 of them are mechanical, or whatever. They have 4 or 5 engineers, let's suppose. And then they need a construction manager. All of them have same experience, but this one guy had already done PMP. So who did they promote? They promoted him. Why? Because he already has some ideas of management. He already knows what kind of situations might arise in a real life situation. He already knows how to handle conflicts. He already knows how to communicate. He already knows the basics of project management. So they promoted the guy with the PMP to the post of construction manager. So for
Right.
now, even if it might not look good for you later down the line, when such a situation does arise, your PMP will definitely help you in your career.
100%. Great. So let's jump into the next question, guys. Maybe we'll go with Miss Sherwood. You had a question.
Yes, I wanted to know where did you oh sorry, you answered the question after I asked it. Where did you sit the exam? I believe you took it at home.
Yes, I did indeed take it at home because again, if you want to go for the test center, you can, but it's going to be really cold. At least in my personal experience. Maybe you'll find a
Yes.
better one, but in my personal experience, it's really cold. And of course, there are people sitting with you who are typing really loudly on their keyboards, and that's really disturbing when you're trying to focus.
Yes, and I'm also with you. If you have a quiet place in your house, you don't have kids playing around you, you can isolate yourself in one room for 4 hours. Then, and you have a good internet connection. That's very
Yes.
important. Good camera and good microphone built in the computer, maybe a laptop. Then definitely go for it at home. So, Miss Aya, go ahead, please.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
My question is my eligibility for the exam. Like, I don't know if I'm eligible or not. I'm engineering teacher actually for approximately 4 years. Okay, I teach project like engineering project in general. Okay, and I've done these projects for with students. So if I'm am I eligible or not? I don't know actually. And I want to take this PMP to make a career shift since I'm studying my master's degree also in AI.
Yeah,
So
very nice. Great.
yeah,
See what
so
it's usually, guys, about how you are seeing the thing that you are doing. If you see teaching from a project perspective, then you will be eligible as long as you have 4 years. Yani, for example, let's say that I am managing the project of teaching the students how to design whatever, which will have a budget and will have a schedule and will have a blah blah blah, which is like writing the thing in the PMP terms. You will be eligible to go for the exam. But if I'm just teaching operational level and thank you, this is the end of the story, you will not be eligible for that. That's what we help our students understand how the things will be either thought about from the perspective of the PMI or
mm,
even written from the perspective of the PMI. And usually my students are accepted for the exam, whatever the background is. But I do usually have, let's say, 10 minutes chat with the candidate before they register if they are doubting their eligibility. So I need to talk to you maybe in an online meeting sometime later. But
yeah,
from the question perspective, everybody is eligible if you are doing the things from a project management perspective, that you will have specific limitations, you will have specific circumstances which is related to project and project management. That's what we explain in the class, like having the constraints, having a unique product, and having let's say specific duration, specific start, specific end, which all of them is applicable for your career or what you are doing right now. You have a
yeah,
specific project of teaching the students, which will start on maybe September, finish in December, and I need to have the students passing the certificates of whatever in the university, and we are having that course that they are paying. If you think about it from this perspective, then definitely it's a project. But if
yeah.
it's an operational work, I do teach people every day or every second day design principles. Then definitely it's not a project management.
Yeah. No, actually, we do projects, but I'm worried that after taking the course and applying for the exam, they say it's not I'm not eligible or
No, as
something.
long as you're doing projects, I will guarantee you will be accepted for the exam. Don't worry.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Great. Perfect. More questions? Who else, guys, wants to ask something? The very important question, guys, I'll help you to ask. Mr. Arif, which topics were more present in the exam? Traditional or agile project management?
I think about 90% of of the whole exam was agile or hybrid. There were maybe one or two questions that were purely traditional. because they're focusing a lot on moving to agile practices, So almost all of my exam was either agile or hybrid.
Great. So we are more focused on agile and hybrid. Perfect.
Yes, definitely.
The questions that you felt that they are difficult, were they in the agile or traditional, or about which topic exactly you feel that this is
Uh,
difficult and I want to think more about it?
for me personally, conflict management. I
Conflict
think
management.
that's yes,
Great.
I think that's something that I struggled with slightly, and especially the I forgot the exact topic. I think it had to do with the communication management.
Communication management. Great.
Yeah.
So for
Mhm.
Mr. Arif, guys, he had an above target, which means that he answered most of the questions with a correct answer, or mostly close to the most best practice and correct answer. And he felt that maybe communication and conflict management, those are very important questions for your exams, guys, if you are planning to go for the exam, or even if you are planning to go for the PMP certificate. How much did it cost you for the exam?
$450.
$450. Great. And have you faced any technical issues with the exam having it at home?
No, I think I only had an issue with this software that I had to specially close because it's I don't know why. It's a headphone software, but during the exam, when the application is checking your computer, it asked me to close it, and maybe some people will face the same problem. So you must know how to close like processes and how to close services. Because I
Yes.
don't I don't think most people know how to close services. Because
Yeah,
those
that's
are
very
two different
important,
things.
guys. Before you go to your exam, try to check something we call Task Manager. Once you have
Yes,
it, you can go
exactly.
to process and you close whatever they are asking you to close. Then that means you have to test your computer before the exam. Once you book the exam, they will give you a software that will help you to test if your computer can run the exam or not. And if you are using the same computer, if it's accepted after this test, then definitely you can use that computer without having any issues. Even if you have an issue, it will be easy. You just need to know that there is something called Task Manager in the computer. You can just run it and you go to that software that the message will tell you that this software needs to be closed. So you go to that software and you just close it. And what other questions we can ask? How long it take you to finish the exam?
I think I finished maybe 30 minutes before the time.
30?
Yeah.
3 zeros. Then the
Sorry, 20,
question,
20. Yeah, 20 minutes. Yes.
great. Then the exam timing is enough to finish the
Oh,
exam,
definitely. Yes.
relax, and you have enough time to complete the questions and finish them. Do you remember if you have marked many questions you could not answer once you read them?
Yeah, I think I marked in the first 60, I marked maybe three. Like total, I marked about 7 to 8 questions total.
Great, which is maybe 5 to 10% of the exam he
Yes.
needs to mark, but that doesn't mean that he answered wrong. So it's okay, guys, if you feel that you don't know the question or you are not 100% sure about the answer that you have selected, but mark it just for a later review.
Yeah,
My
just don't
school
waste too much
is
time.
don't review. My school, Jasser, I don't recommend you that you will review unless you have like maybe 50% of the questions you have marked. That means there is something wrong. But if you don't have that much questions, keep it on the answer that came to your mind the first time you read the question. Some other people will definitely advise you to review and you can change your answers. And for me, if you are not 100% correct or sure that you need to change the answer, don't change it. Perfect. What other questions, guys? Help me. I'm helping you.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Yes, please.
It's regarding the timing for each question. You have like a specific timing, or you need to manage.
No, no, no. You have total time. You can divide it however you want.
Okay, so you can. Okay, okay, thank you.
That's why
So
I'm
you
saying
have
manage your time
full
judicially.
time, guys. For each 60 questions, you'll have a break. The 10 minutes of the break is not a part of the exam, and you will need to manage your exam. They will not tell you that, "Khalas, for this question, you are done." No, but on average, if you want to have equal time for each question, you will have 1.4 minutes. So not 1 to 4, it's 1.4, less than 1.5 minutes. Okay. But it's not something that you'll use for the exam for all the questions. Some of the questions you'll answer in 2 minutes, or sorry, in 2 seconds, 30 seconds, 5 seconds, and some of them will take 1 minute, 1 minute and a half. So the average will be 1.4 minutes.
Oh, that reminded me, yeah, just as Mr. Jasser mentioned break. When you take the break, the 10 minutes break, it will show on the screen that all the rules of the exam are still applicable. That does not mean that you cannot leave your seat or anything, because during those 10 minutes, you can leave your seat. I think I wasted like 7 minutes from my first break because I was waiting for them to reply, hello, can I leave my seat? Because it says that all the exam rules are still in place. And they were like, yeah, this is your break. You can go ahead and do whatever you want. So
Yes.
don't worry what it shows on the screen. The 10-minute break means that you can leave the room.
Perfect. Any other questions, guys? Are we good?
Is there any please?
Yes, please.
Is there any calculation?
Yeah, the
Or all of
SPI
them scenarios are scenarios?
No,
Did you have
to
any
solve the
calculation question, Mr. Arif? And if yes,
Yes.
how many questions?
Very few, but there were definitely some SPI, EVM, add value management questions in there.
Any calculation questions out of our classes?
Yeah, the exact same questions like post variances. What will you do now?
So it's the same,
Yes.
guys. Don't
Yes.
worry about the calculation questions. Mr.
Okay.
Jacob.
Okay, that's what I think. Just graphical and all these things, like so like the type some calculation questions were there. So I just want to know if were there like the type questions or not.
They are very light in the exam. Don't worry for the
Light
calculation
enough.
questions, guys. Whatever we explain
Okay.
or whatever
And
I explain in the classes are more than enough for the calculations.
Like the question
Okay.
Mr. Jasir has already probably taught many times before. If you are running over the cost, what will you do? Will you crash the schedule? Will you fast track the schedule? Those kind of questions. Just one or two, not that many.
Great. More questions, guys. Perfect. Miss Aya, you have asked for my email. It's on the chat box, guys. You can send me any email. And now we have came to the area where people usually or audience loves it. I'll share my screen. We usually have
1 second, let me close my screen.
to register. Yes, please. If you would stop
Yes.
sharing, I'll share my screen. If you would love to be part of our classes, this is the website where you can register, or you can contact me, guys, or on the number that they have already contacted you for registering today. The good thing, guys, that this will cover all the material of the PMP, plus that we usually have a good discount for people who attend this or such type of sessions that we announce. For example, registering for as low as $700 or $699 today for you guys, if you will use the message that I'll send in the chat box, which is a code, and send it to the WhatsApp number that have contacted you, you will have the class for only $500, $499. So what I will write for you on the chat box, guys, it is a PMP June 23, and as a thank you for Arif, we will have Arif in the code dash. It will be $499 US. So once you contact us, please tell us that you want to register for the class on the discount. This is the price that you will take the class for, and this is for the very next coming session, which will be in August, but the registration is open now, so we don't guarantee that the registration will be open until August. So register as soon as possible, but please send this code, save it on your screen, save it on your mobile, and send it to WhatsApp. Tell us that I want to have this discount because I have attended Mr. Arif's session. The second point I will tell, guys, we have Noela from Cameroon again. She has passed her exam today, just now before the class. She has sent me the screenshot. She has passed with also above target result. So we'll definitely have another session with Noela. We have also Mr. Antonio Raghib from Lebanon, who has also just passed his exam with a very good result. To my memory, it's also above target. And we'll definitely have another session with Mr. Antonio, so we'll have a better understanding from different experiences away from my own experience. Those are the passing candidates. They will tell you their experience, and they will tell you how to pass your exam also beside my classes. To this extent, I would seriously thank you guys for attending this class, and will definitely be always in touch. Send me whenever you want. You have my email now, and you have our WhatsApp number. From our side, we are done. If you have any questions,
sure, sir.
Please feel free to ask.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph.
I'll be like, for exam related, like, when I'm taking the exam, before that, I might reach you guys. That's all. Like,
definitely feel free to reach us. Definitely. You're one of the family members.
Sure, sir.
Okay, guys. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you for attending.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.